GettingPositiveKarmaNow.com presents Bhagavad Gita for All, lectures by Nalan K. Narula, recorded in front of a live audience.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So last time we had completed text 22 of chapter 5 of Bhagavad Gita, Action in Krishna Consciousness, and I'll just go back a couple of shlokas to get the continuity. And in text 20, Krishna had said that a person who is neither rejoicing on achieving something pleasant or desirable, and nor is he agitated by something which is undesirable or unpleasant, and who is self-intelligent and not bewildered and knows the science of Krishna consciousness, science of God. Such a person is understood to be situated already in the spiritual zone of transcendence, Brahmani. So there are two aspects. One is being connected to the Brahma energies by initiation, and the second part is to actually be situated there in one's consciousness. So this steady consciousness is important. And in text 21, Krishna had explained to Arjuna that such a person who is so liberated is not attracted to material sense pleasure or external objects, but he is always meditating on the transcendental flow of energy within, and in this way he is enjoying unlimited happiness, and he is self-realized, and he is concentrating on the Supreme. So for healers this is very significant. If you recall that we mentioned that you should be connecting to the inner flow of the healing energy of Reiki or the KQ force, which is a source of joy and pleasure because it is the transcendental energy of the divine. And when you are connected with that in fact and in reality and by experience, all these other aspects instantly manifest of being detached, a saktatma, not being attached, and to the bahaya sparseshu, the external sensory pleasures. So, and the sukham is internally. Atmani sukham, Atmani yat sukham, sa brahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshayam ashnuti. Enjoys akshayam, unlimited happiness, unlimited joy. So that was text 21, and 22 was that yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukha yonaya evate adi antavantah kaunteya natesu ramate buddha. So an intelligent person does not take part in the sources of unhappiness and misery which are coming from the contact with material nature. Samsparsaja, bhoga. So by the contact with the objects of the senses, there is going to be dukkha, because they are yoneya, dukkha yoneya, they are the womb or the source. And the other reference to the womb is especially been given here because one of the greatest pleasures is sensory or sensual enjoyment of the sexual nature, and that is eventually a source of misery. And son of Kunti, Queen Kunti, Arjun, These pleasures have a beginning and end. That's why they're a source of misery. That is the ultimate cause of the source of misery. That you are attracted to it, you get connected to it, you're enjoying those things, and they go away, and that gives you a lot of pain. It gives you a lot of suffering. So, when such pleasures are there which have beginning and end, a wise man does not take pleasure in these. Okay. So now we continue with text 23. Shaknoti iha aiva yah sodham prakas sharir vimokshanat kam krodha udbhavam vegam sah yukta sah sukhi nara. Saknoti iha eva. Even in this present body, one is able to do. Able to do iha eva in the present body. Yaha, one, sodham, tolerate. One who is able to tolerate prak sharira vimokshena. Before giving up the material body, before dying, in other words, from the body, before leaving the body, kam krodha udbhavam vegam sa yukta sa sukhi dara. So if one is able to give up the desire that is arising from anger and from the urges of the senses, and he is able to check these things, then such a person is a yogi, and he is a very happy human being, nara, a human being, person. So this goes back to the third principle of Reiki, which is just for today I shall not anger. So just for today I shall not anger, and the second principle was just for today I shall not fear. So if you examine these two, that there is fear of losing something, in other words, some gain that we have or some sensory capability that we have, which think about losing it, it is a cause for trouble, disturbance within us. And the calm, the desire is always there, whether you have the sensory capability or not. And this is generated from this desiring urge. And if one is internally looking at the source of internal pleasure, if one is looking at the internal source of pleasure coming from the transcendental divine energies within, then one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses, and he is able to check the force of desire and anger. Now, it doesn't say that you don't have any. So it's a matter of controlling or checking. It's not that you will be completely free of it, but you give up the actions that come out of such a sense of anger and desire. So the idea is of giving up the outward motion that these urges will generate. So internally you will combat it by connecting to the inner flow of joy, which is the flow of the healing energy, which is the flow of the transcendental energy within. And such a person is a yogi. Yogi means person who is yukta. He is linked to the divine, and that a person, such a person, is a happy human being. So this is how the text 23 instruction is there. So control of the senses. It's the urges may be there, but then you are able to control them. So that is how, by connecting with the internal state. So text 24, Ya anta sukha anta arama tatha anta jyoti eva ya sa yogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhuta adhigacchati. Ya anta sukha antararamas. So a person who is anta sukha, happy from within, antaharama, active within, not externally. So internally connecting and working internally, meditating on the divine, doing one's healing process. Anta Jyoti, aiming for the illumination internally. Eva here, certainly, any person like that. Sa yogi is a mystic, is a yogi. Brahma Nirvanam, liberated in the Supreme, and Brahma Bhuta Adhigacchati, that he attains the self-realization. Brahma Bhuta Adhigacchati, he travels towards, goes towards and attains this liberation. So he is already situated in the Supreme. A few shlokas earlier, Krishna has said that a person while in this body, but when he is working like this, is already considered to be a liberated human being. So again, this idea is repeated here, that such a person is liberated, and ultimately he will attain the Supreme. Text 25 of chapter 5. Labhante Brahma Nirvanam. Sorry, I will repeat that. Labhante Brahma Nirvanam Rishya Kshina Kalmasha Chinna Dvaida Yatatmana Sarva Bhuta Hite Rata. Labhante Brahma Nirvanam. So one who Labhante means he achieves Brahma Nirvanam, liberation in the Supreme. So Nirvan and Brahma Nirvan. So when you get connected, during the initiation process of being connected to the Brahma energies, you achieve Brahma Nirvanam, and that is through the Brahminical initiation or the Reiki initiation or the KQ initiation. They connect you to the Brahma energies and make you capable of acting within. Rishya, those who are active within. Kshina Kalmasha, who are devoid of all sinful actions and reactions. Chinna Dvaida. Chinna means removed, torn off. Dvaidha, duality. Yat Atmana, and engaged in self-realization. Sarva Bhuta Hite Rata, very important. Sarva Bhuta Hite Rata, they are engaged in the welfare activities. Hite Rata, engaged. Sarva Bhuta, of all living entities. Now, how is it possible that a person who is externally apparently inactive and internally very active, how is he the well-wisher of all living entities? And that is possible because as a healer, when you are healing yourself and you are channeling healing to your nearby environment, you are actually doing welfare work to liberate not only yourself but others from the binding consequences of karma. Krishna has made this very clear in the previous narrative, that ultimately it is the binding consequences of karma that have to be destroyed or neutralized or eliminated, and that is the key. So if you are working within, this is how you are liberating people. You are not liberating people by doing some social work, some social service. That is getting you other benefits in other areas, but it is not liberating anybody. You are giving some relief, yes, but this is the ultimate relief, is liberation from the bondage of birth, death, old age and disease. Janam, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, 4 things. This is the karma syndrome. These 4 things come together in the karma disease, where you have the binding consequence karma reactions to your activities. So if one is beyond duality, beyond doubt, and who is devoid of all sins, Kshina Kalmasa, Chinna Dvaida, duality doesn't exist anymore for such a person. He sees oneness in everything. Not that everybody is one, but he sees one energy flowing through all, which is the Reiki energy, the universal life force energy that flows through all. And such a person does not see duality. He sees the energy in everyone, and therefore he is connecting with that reflection of the Supreme Energy, which is within as well as externally. And he is engaged in the Hite Rata, Sarva Bhuta, of all living entities, engaged in welfare work for all such sentient beings, for all living entities. So, text 26, काम क्रोध विमुक्तानाम यतीनाम यथा चेतसाम अभितो ब्रह्म निर्वाणम वर्तते विदितात्मनाम. So, Kama Krodha Vimuktanam, those who are liberated from desire and anger. Again, this point about Krodh and Kam is repeated. Yatinam, the saintly person, Yata Chetasam, who has full control over the mind, Abhita, assured that coming shortly in the near future, Brahma Nirvanam, the liberation in the Supreme, Vartate is there, vidit atmanam, those who are self-realized. So what is the self-realization aspect? Is that connecting internally to the self-realizing force which is within you and who are endeavoring to achieve this. So those who are free from anger and material desires, who are self-disciplined, self-realized and constantly endeavoring to be in the Brahma Nirvana state, by having the Yata Chetasam, full control over the mind. Again, the mind is disturbed by fear. So, just for today I shall not fear is the second principle of Reiki. And once you are working with that, and the third principle, just for today I shall not anger. So, the Kam, Krodh, Bhay, all those aspects disappear. And then the illumination of internalization of who you really are, connecting with the universal force, will start to manifest more and more. So that is very, very important understanding. That is the 26th step, 26th shlok of the 5th chapter. Then we have 27, 28, and we are approaching the end of chapter 5 in this. So this is now a slightly different, you can say, expansion of a different viewpoint to be included, but it is included in a short form. This doesn't override what has been stated earlier, but it is an additional aspect of Krishna conscious action. So it is Sparshan Kritva Bahi Bahayan Chakshucha Eva Antare Bhruvo Prana Apanau Samau Kritva Nasa Abhyantar Charinau Yata Indriya Mana Buddhi Muni Moksha Parayana Vigat Ichha Bhay Krodh Yah Sada Mukta Eva Sa. So basically, Sparshana Kritva Bahir Bhayams Chakshus Chayanavantara Bhruvo. Now this is a yoga practice, that the external objects such as sound, vision and so on, sensory perception, is you withdraw from that and you focus your attention on the focus your eyes, chakshus, eyes, cha eva antare bhruvo, between the eyebrows, here the third eye, just below the third eye, prana apana. Prana is the upward rising energy and apana is the downward moving air. Samau, some, in balance. Kritva nasa abhyantra, breath control within the nostril. Charinau, in and out breath. Yata, controlled indriya, senses. Mana, buddhi. Muni, one who transcends these. Moksha parayana, liberation from the threefold miseries and the fourfold karma syndrome. Parayana means who is attached to, who is going towards. Vigata, discarded. Ichha bhay krodha ya sada mukta eva sa. So he has given up desiring, wishes, no more wishes. He's given up fear and he's given up anger. Krodha, bhay and krodha. Ya sada mukta evasa. Such a person is considered to be already eternally liberated, even though he's in this body. So this is very important. Again and again the point is being stressed here about anger and fear. Three things: desire, anger and fear. So when a person is controlling those things and he is free in terms of the influence that fear and anger prod one into some external action, then he is becoming gradually, it is a process, and ultimately if he attains the state where he is always in such a condition, he is certainly a liberated individual. So this is a description of the Ashtanga Yoga process, and it's an Ashtanga means the 8 limbs of yoga, and they start with the 8 limbs are Yam, Niyam, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyan and Samadhi. When you are connecting internally, you are already in the Samadhi state, having bypassed all the other 7. So there is Yam and Niyam, there are rules, there is a postures, Asana, Pranayam, breathing, and then Pratyahara, retention of the breath, and then there is meditation, Dharana, there is Dhyan, and then there is ultimately Samadhi. But for a person who is in Krishna consciousness, working like this, who is initiated in the healing energy, in the Brahma energy, in the Reiki energy, KQ force, he is already in that state because he is connecting to that internal flow. In fact, in reality, it is not an imaginary thing. So a person who does not have this initiation, the Brahmin initiation or the Brahma Nirvana energy initiation, he is not going to feel like that. That is artificial. That you look for within, and a certain connectivity does take place, but it is not an empowered connectivity. So it is important to understand that. So now this is a wonderful shlok, which is the 29th shlok, which is the conclusion of the 5th chapter, and I would like to sing this. It's such a lovely shlok. Bhoktaram yag tapasam sarvalok maheshwaram suhridam sarva bhutanam gyantva mam shantim richati. So Bhoktaram yag tapasam. Bhoktaram is the beneficiary. Yagya tapasam. Yagya is sacrifices. Tapasam is penance and austerities. Sarvaloka, all planetary systems, including the demigods. Maheshwaram, I am the Supreme Lord. Suhridam, benefactor of all. Sarvabhutanam, of all living entities. Gyatva mam, one who knows this, knows me, Krishna. Shantim rachati. This is cutting short the whole process. One who knows I am the Bhoktaram Yagya Tapsam, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam Gyatva Mam Shantim Richati. Such a person achieves relief from all material miseries, all the material pangs. So this is the only thing, if you remember in your whole life, this is enough to get you across, because this is the essence of what we try and do as healers. What anybody who is on the Brahminical path, on the healing path, will achieve this understanding that you don't go to the demigods, you don't go here, you don't go there, because ultimately the ultimate beneficiary on the source of all benefits that are going to flow back to those people who do the penances and the austerities and the sacrifice is Krishna himself. So Bhoktaram Yag Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam Gyatva Mam Shantim Richati. Such a person attains lasting relief. So this is the bottom line of how a person in healing consciousness, in Krishna consciousness works. He is not deviated by planets, he is not deviated by demigods, he is not deviated by fear, he is not deviated by anger, and he is not deviated by desires. and wishes. So this desiring, wishing, anger, fear, I will get, not get, what will happen to me, all of those disappear once you connect with this eternal rejuvenating life force which is within, and you know that Sri Krishna is the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices. He is the ultimate end point to which we have to receive, the end point where we have to reach. He is the owner and controller and the master of all the planets, the demigods, and he is the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, because he is appearing within each and every living entity, whether it's in a animal form or a human form or a vegetable plant kingdom, any form. He is always there. No one else will be there with you, but he will always be there. And such a person who has this knowledge attains peace from the pangs of material misery. So this is the conclusion of the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, text 29, that Bhoktaram Savatap Yagyatapsam. So this is a very, very important shlok which you should actually commit to memory and meditate if you can. This is the most wonderful guiding instruction, and the Bhagavad Gita flows backward. The understanding of the Bhagavad Gita flows backwards and forwards from this shlok. This is the, you can say, the keystone of what all persons who are trying to achieve liberation from the pangs of material nature, that is what they are trying to achieve, and this is the linchpin around which everything rotates. So if you are clear cut in your understanding, there is no running here and there and everywhere. You connect with the healing energy, you do your healing, you work with the inner transcendence, and you work with the force to change and heal your karma, to change and heal your karma, and you're off to a very good place. Things in the material universe and your perception of these and being attached to those perceptions will always be a cause of misery and unhappiness eventually, because they are transitory. They will move, they will leave, they will deteriorate. But the inner source of joy and happiness is constant. So connect with that constant and manage your life. Overcome the urges of Kam, Krodh, Lobh, all these things that are mentioned here, and Bhay, fear. It's a process. As you work on it, you will be successful. You are considered to be already liberated if you are in that area. But always there is some work, some cultivation to be done. You have to cultivate this. So the cultivation process is very important. Okay. So we will stop here at text 29, chapter 5, the end of chapter 5. Action in Krishna consciousness, Karma Yoga. And this is wonderful summation of a point. We have come to a particular point of understanding, and from here we will use that as the next level of understanding will come after this. And the next chapter is about Sankhya Yoga, analytical study. So, and then there's devotional study. So basically the goal of these are the same, but how you get there depending on your proclivities, depending on your nature, you might find one aspect more appealing to you or convincing to you than another. But the central part is this Bhoktaram Yagyatapsam, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam Gyatva Mam Shantim Richati. So we will pause here, and if there are any questions, I will take some questions now.
So the initiation, how does that work, sir? Is that an energy?
The Brahminical initiation also works to connect you to Krishna, to the Brahma energies. Yes.
That is also, there is another energy.
Yeah, there are countless unlimited energies of the divine. The Brahma energies as a Brahminical initiation also you get. And there is a whole technical process of connecting one. It's an initiation, just like we have an initiation for the Reiki and the KQ force. It is a process which connects you through the via media of the spiritual master to the Brahma energies to destroy your negative karma, your binding consequence karma, and to enable you to engage in the service of the divine. But where you do not have the Reiki energy or the KQ force energy with you, you can't rapidly change your life. So our understanding is that these energies were at one point, as we had discovered in the while we were meditating on Dr. Mikao Yusui's life, we had discovered in the Atharva Ved that at some point in time, all transcendentalists, all people who were connected to the Brahma energies were also connected to these energies of Reiki, by whatever name called. Because these are the karma changing active energies. The Brahmin energy is internal. The Reiki energy is going outside, because the Brahmin energy or the KQ force energy aspect are the firm, steady and sthir aspect of the divine. They are the male energies. So male energies are considered to be sthir, steady, unmoving. And it is the female aspect, when that energy starts to move, it generates what is called the female aspect. And that is Reiki. And the external aspect of the KQ force. So when you have the internal steadiness of the KQ force and it is generating, or you can say giving rise to the movement is coming from feminine energy or female energy, and that is Reiki. So you need both. Without both, there is a bit of an unbalance. So if one is Brahmin but not connected to this energy, their lives become very, very tough. Internally they are in one space, but externally they are not able to handle the pressures. So ideally everybody should have a Brahmin initiation and a Reiki initiation. So when you have a KQ force, that is also Brahmin, and Reiki itself is Brahmin. So if you have even just Reiki, it's fine. Eventually if you have both, nothing like it. So that puts you in a very superior position to combat the binding consequence karma. Any other questions? Okay, so we will conclude here today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 You've been listening to Nalin K. Narula on GettingPositiveKarmaNow.com.